The rhythmic screech of grinding metal was the heartbeat of Thorne Auto, a symphony Liam Thorne had known since he was old enough to hold a wrench. Dust motes danced in the thick shafts of sunlight that pierced the grimy high windows, illuminating the organized chaos of tools hanging like old soldiers on pegboards, and the silent, hulking forms of classic cars in various stages of hopeful repair. The air itself was a heavy, intoxicating blend of oil, gasoline, and the metallic tang of forgotten decades. Liam, 35. His face etched with a permanent, weary concentration, bent over the open engine of a vintage Mustang, his calloused hands moving with the delicate precision of a surgeon. 8-year-old Maya, a quiet whirlwind of curiosity and focus, sat nearby on an overturned tire, her small fingers tracing intricate diagrams in a worn, grease-smudged notebook. Occasionally, she'd glance up, her dark eyes, inherited from her late mother, observing her father's movements with an intensity that missed nothing. Liam, feeling her silent gaze, offered a small, tired smile as he wiped a streak of grease from his brow. Maya responded with a soft, humming tune, a melody only she seemed to hear, but which Liam instantly recognized as a fragment of Sarah's favorite song. It was their language, a tapestry woven from shared loss and quiet companionship, understood without words. Liam felt the familiar ache in his shoulders, the constant pressure of keeping the garage afloat, a legacy passed down from his grandfather, now a burden he carried alone. Every nut, every bolt, every flickering bulb represented another day of barely breaking even, another fight against the encroaching tide of bills. Yet, watching Maya, lost in her intricate world of circuits and gears, a deep, protective love swelled in his chest. He was a guardian of more than just rusted metal. He was a guardian of her future, of the last tangible piece of their family's history, even if it felt like it was crumbling around them. Maya, for her part, found a quiet fascination in the raw mechanics, a sense of inherent order in the seemingly chaotic sprawl of engine parts. She saw the blueprints, not just the finished machine. Suddenly, a grunt of frustration escaped Liam. As he wrestled with a stubborn engine issue, he picked up a faulty sensor, muttering under his breath about the idiosyncrasies of vintage electronics. Without looking up from her drawing, Maya extended a small hand towards him, offering a different, seemingly identical sensor from a small pile of discarded parts. "This one, Dad." Maya signed with her free hand, a simple, fluid motion that was as natural as breathing to her. Liam raised an eyebrow. Skeptical, he knew his parts, knew the pile was all scrap. "How do you know, kiddo?" "They're all broken." Maya just tapped a specific point on the diagram in her notebook, showing a tiny, almost invisible hairline fracture, a detail Liam's experienced, but tired, eye had completely missed. A flicker of surprise, then grudging admiration, crossed Liam's face. Maya's intuition for mechanics is uncanny, a gift he doesn't fully understand but implicitly trusts. He felt a pang of pride, mixed with a familiar concern for her quiet, almost reclusive nature. Maya, in her own world, felt a brief flicker of validation, then retreated back into the comforting solitude of her thoughts. She found solace in the precision of lines, the certainty of logic. Later, in the small, cluttered apartment above the garage, the lingering scent of old oil still permeated the air. Liam moved around the cramped kitchen, preparing a simple dinner of pasta and canned sauce. The domestic routine, a comfort, if a lonely one. Maya sat at her small desk, meticulously arranging her collection of tiny salvaged gears, polishing each one with a scrap of cloth. On the fridge, half hidden by one of Maya's vibrant crayon drawings, was the landlord's past due notice, a stark reminder of their precarious existence. "We just need one big job, Maya," Liam said, his voice softer than usual, a plea whispered into the quiet air. "Then we'll be okay." Maya didn't respond verbally, but her small hands moved in a hopeful, upward motion. "Okay, Dad," she signed, her head tilting slightly, a silent acknowledgement of their shared struggle. Liam's heart ached with the constant burden of providing, of being both mother and father, mechanic and accountant. He felt the phantom weight of Sarah's absence, wishing he had her steady pragmatism, her quiet strength, to navigate these impossible choices. He wanted to protect Maya from their precarious reality, even as she, with her observant eyes, intuitively understood it. For Maya, the precise arrangement of gears was a coping mechanism, a way to find control and order in her small, uncertain world. The following afternoon, the familiar hum of the city outside the garage was abruptly broken by a new, unwelcome sound. A sleek, black luxury car, a stark, gleaming Predator, purred to a stop outside Thorne Auto, its polished chrome reflecting the worn brick facade. Clara Hayes, in her mid-30s, emerged, a vision of corporate efficiency, in a sharply tailored business suit that seemed to cut the very air around her. Her platinum blonde hair was pulled back into a severe bun, her expression unreadable. Practiced. She scanned the dilapidated garage with a critical eye, then walked in, her expensive heels clicking loudly on the concrete floor, each click a jarring intrusion into the garage's greasy symphony. Liam, startled, instinctively ducked out from under the truck he was working on, his wrench still in hand, his brow furrowed. Maya, who had been engrossed in a particularly complex schematic, paused, her eyes wide, with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Clara offered a tight, professional smile, a gesture that didn't quite reach her ice-blue eyes. "Liam Thorne? I'm Clara Hayes, from Veridian Global." Her voice was clipped, authoritative, every syllable carefully pronounced. Liam felt an immediate prickle of defensiveness, a primal instinct against anything that smelled of corporate ambition and soulless profit. He'd seen this type before. Suit, slick car, the air of someone who valued numbers over humanity. He braced himself for bad news, his internal alarm bells ringing. Maya, usually so insulated in her own world, felt an unfamiliar coldness radiating from the woman, a stark contrast to the warm, oily comfort of their familiar world. In his cluttered, cramped office, an extension of the garage itself, papers were stacked high on every surface. Old racing trophies gleamed faintly from a dusty shelf. Clara, unfazed by the disarray, laid out a glossy, intimidating proposal on Liam's worn desk. It detailed a massive smart city development project, showing sleek, futuristic buildings consuming the entire block where Thorne Auto stood, erasing it without a trace. She outlined a lucrative buyout offer for his property, emphasizing its prime location with a dismissive wave of her hand. "This isn't just about money, Mr. Thorne. It's about progress. About making way for the future," Clara stated, her tone devoid of emotion, a practiced neutrality that chilled Liam to the bone. Liam scoffed, his gaze drifting to the faded, framed photograph of his grandfather and father, their proud faces smiling from behind an old engine. "This times is times my future, Miss Hayes. And my past." Maya, having silently followed them, stood in the doorway, clutching her notebook tightly, her small face pale, absorbing the tension in the room like a sponge. Clara felt a faint irritation at Liam's sentimental resistance. She was a pragmatist. Sentimentality has no place in a business deal. She saw him as an obstacle, a relic to be moved aside efficiently. Liam, however, felt a burning anger mixed with dread. This wasn't just a property. It was his family's legacy, his late wife Sarah's memory, Maya's inheritance, all threatened by this soulless, corporate juggernaut. As Clara exited the office, her heels clicking purposefully, she nearly bumped into Maya, who was standing quietly by an old workbench, her intense gaze fixed on the sleek executive. Maya didn't flinch, but her eyes, wide and assessing, methodically scanned Clara's expensive handbag. Then her phone. Then a small, almost imperceptible tear in the meticulously tailored hem of her designer jacket. Clara offered a curt nod, her expression softening infinitesimally, perhaps surprised by the child's silent, unblinking presence. "Excuse me," she murmured. Maya just stared, a silent, unblinking observer. Clara felt a brief, uncomfortable flicker of something she didn't recognize, perhaps a pang of guilt, or just unease at being so intensely observed by a child who seemed to see right through her polished facade. Maya, however, felt a strange clarity, noticing tiny details about Clara that seemed to contradict the woman's perfect exterior. There was a subtle imperfection, a small crack in the corporate armor, a story waiting to be told. The following morning, a stark legal notice from Veridian Global was taped to the garage door, its official language cold and impersonal. Liam, his jaw clenched, furiously ripped it down, crumpling the paper in his fist, as if trying to crush the words themselves. He paced the worn concrete floor, making frantic phone calls to a pro bono lawyer he knew. But the options were limited, bleak. The small community of local business owners, loyal customers, and neighbors, though offering their unwavering support, were as powerless and resource-strapped as Liam himself. "They think they can just roll over us," Liam growled to his old friend, Mr. Henderson, who owned the diner next door and had popped over to offer a consoling cup of coffee. "But they don't know Thorne Auto." Mr. Henderson, a man who had seen too many small businesses swallowed by bigger ones, just clapped him on the shoulder, a look of shared resignation in his eyes. Liam felt a rising tide of desperation and defiance. He was fighting not just for his business, but for his very identity, for Sarah's memory, for Maya's future. He was furious at the impersonal corporate machine threatening to erase them all. Meanwhile, high above the city in Veridian Global's sleek, minimalist office, Clara Hayes presented her acquisition strategy for the Thorne Auto property to her superior, Daniel Albright. Albright, a man whose ambition gleamed in his polished demeanor, listened impassively as Clara outlined the aggressive timeline, the legal leverage, and the projected profits, efficiently dismissing any potential resistance. "Sentimentality is a luxury we cannot afford, Clara," Albright said, his voice smooth and cold. "Move past this Thorne hiccup quickly. We have deadlines." Clara nodded, her expression betraying no doubt, no hesitation. Internally, she felt a surge of professional pride. She was good at this. She truly was. She viewed Liam's resistance as quaint, predictable, and ultimately futile. She believed in progress, in efficiency, in a future built on new, clean lines, not old grease and rust. Later that afternoon, the skies opened up, and rain began to fall steadily, reflecting the neon signs of the city in shimmering puddles. Clara's sleek black luxury car, now with a flat tire, was parked awkwardly outside the garage, a defiant blot on the wet pavement. She was on her phone, visibly frustrated, trying to get roadside assistance, her polished corporate shield momentarily breached by a simple mechanical failure. Liam, despite his simmering resentment, watched from the garage entrance, a greasy rag in his hand. She glared at the deflated tire, then noticed Liam standing there observing. "Don't you have a tow service for this kind of thing?" she asked, a hint of disdain still in her voice, but tinged with an unfamiliar helplessness. Liam just shrugged. "I'm a mechanic, Miss Hayes, not a valet, but I can fix a flat." He felt a wry satisfaction at her predicament, a small taste of poetic justice, but also a professional urge to help. He resented her, yet his nature was to fix things that were broken. Clara, however, felt deeply annoyed, stripped of her corporate power by such a trivial problem. She hated feeling dependent, especially on him. Liam worked efficiently in the driving rain, the rhythmic thunk times of the jack echoing in the garage. Maya, standing under the shelter of the garage entrance, sketched intently in her notebook. She wasn't drawing Liam, but rather the intricate mechanics of the car jack, the suspension system, and a tiny detail on the hubcap. Clara, watching Liam's strong, practiced hands, felt a dawning, grudging respect. His competence was undeniable, his movements economical and precise. Maya eventually approached the car, quietly, and without speaking, pointed at a loose lug nut she noticed on a different times tire. Liam, following her silent cue, checked it, finding it indeed loose. Clara's eyebrows rose in surprise. Liam just gave a small, knowing nod to Maya. Liam finished the tire change, wiping his hands on a fresh rag. Clara, uncharacteristically, pulled out her wallet. "How much?" she asked, her voice slightly softer than before, a hint of something unaccustomed in her tone. Liam shook his head. "On the house, Miss Hayes. Consider it a professional courtesy, or a gesture of goodwill." He looked at her meaningfully, a silent challenge in his eyes. Clara paused, a hint of confusion on her perfectly composed face, then offered a curt nod. "Thank you." Liam felt a small victory. He had shown her that their world operated on principles beyond simple transactions. Clara felt a strange sense of obligation, an uncomfortable imbalance she wasn't used to. She was accustomed to transactional relationships, not unsolicited kindness. Later that evening, in her minimalist, high-rise apartment, the city lights twinkled mockingly outside her floor-to-ceiling windows. Clara stood, a glass of untouched wine in her hand, looking out at the sprawling, impersonal cityscape. Her apartment was impeccably clean, functional, yet sterile, devoid of any personal photographs or warmth. She caught her reflection in the glass, a solitary figure, silhouetted against the urban sprawl. Absent-mindedly, she touched the hem of her jacket where Maya had noticed the tear. The memory of the child's silent, perceptive gaze lingered, an uncomfortable presence in her solitary space. Clara felt a familiar pang of loneliness, a void she usually filled with work, with deadlines and acquisitions. Tonight, however, the silence in her apartment felt heavier, contrasting sharply with the unexpected warmth of Thorne Auto, the quiet companionship of Liam and Maya, a tiny seed of doubt about her own life, about the price of her success, began to sprout in the fertile ground of her solitude. Meanwhile, back in the small apartment above the garage, Liam was going through old, dusty boxes, searching for obscure property documents. He unearthed an old, faded blueprint for Thorne Auto, hand-drawn by his grandfather. The lines softened by time. It included intricate details for a future expansion that had never been realized, a grander vision for the place. Maya, drawn by the rustling and Liam's quiet murmurs, came to sit beside him, her head resting on his shoulder. "Grandpa Thorne wanted this place to be more than just a garage," Liam murmured, tracing lines on the blueprint with a calloused finger. He dreamed of an innovation hub. Maya pointed to a tiny, almost illegible sketch in the corner of the blueprint, a fantastical flying machine. "He had big ideas, Dad," she signed, her eyes gleaming. Liam felt a wave of nostalgia and renewed purpose. This garage wasn't just about the past. It was about an unfulfilled dream that still resonated, a legacy waiting to be continued. Maya, too, felt a kinship with her great-grandfather's visionary spirit, her own hidden talent stirring, recognizing a kindred soul. The following morning, Clara, sitting in her sterile office, found herself researching historical auto garages and community businesses online. A highly unusual diversion for her. She found articles about the Thorne family's long history in the city, their reputation for integrity and craftsmanship. She scrolled through old photos of Liam's grandfather and father, seeing their proud, honest faces. She read comments from customers praising Thorne Auto as a local institution, a place where your car is treated like family, not just a transaction. Clara felt a growing unease, a gnawing discomfort. This wasn't just an empty plot of land on a balance sheet. It was a living entity, deeply intertwined with the community. Her cold, corporate calculations began to feel woefully inadequate, missing a crucial human element she was only just beginning to grasp. At lunchtime, Clara, on an impulse, walked to Mr. Henderson's diner, adjacent to Thorne Auto. The diner was bustling with local workers, the air thick with the smell of sizzling bacon and fresh coffee. She sat alone in a booth, observing the easy, familial interactions around her. Liam and Maya were at their usual booth, sharing a burger, their routine a quiet comfort. Maya, noticing Clara's solitary presence, silently nudged a French fry towards her across the aisle. Clara was taken aback by the simple, innocent gesture, and a small, genuine smile, one that reached her eyes, touched her lips for the first time in days. "Thank you," she said, accepting the fry. Liam, watching the exchange, was surprised by Maya's openness and Clara's unguarded reaction. Clara felt a surprising warmth spread through her, a small crack in her carefully constructed emotional wall. Maya, oblivious to the corporate power dynamics, acted purely out of a child's inherent kindness. Liam felt a slight softening towards Clara, seeing her in a more human, less adversarial light. A moment later, Mr. Henderson approached their table, proudly showing off his new, complex coffee machine that had been having inexplicable power surges, much to his frustration. He'd called several technicians, all stumped. Maya, quietly observing the machine, noticed a tiny, almost imperceptible tremor in the power cord as it connected to the wall. Without speaking, she meticulously sketched a diagram of the faulty cord connection on a napkin and silently pointed to it. "What's she doing?" Clara asked, intrigued by Maya's intense focus. Liam, with a proud, fond glance at his daughter, explained Maya's uncanny gift for seeing the bones of machines, for understanding their internal logic. Mr. Henderson, initially skeptical, followed Maya's precise diagram and, to his astonishment, found the problem exactly where she'd indicated. "She's a genius," he exclaimed, his face lighting up. Clara was genuinely stunned. She had dismissed Maya as a quiet, introverted child. Now she saw a mind of extraordinary insight, a different kind of brilliance. Liam felt a swell of pride in Maya, a quiet validation of her unique way of seeing the world. Maya, for her part, felt a simple satisfaction in solving a puzzle, her quiet world momentarily amplified. Later that afternoon, Clara, her mind reeling from Maya's insight, found Liam in the garage, his hands covered in grease as he worked on an old engine. On an impulse, she approached him, leaving the corporate facade outside. "Tell me about Thorne Auto," she asked, her voice softer than usual, lacking its usual clipped authority. "Tell me about your family." Liam, surprised by her genuine interest, set down his tools. He spoke of his grandfather's ambitious dream, his father's quiet dedication, and his late wife Sarah's profound love for the place. "Sarah loved this place," Liam said, his voice thick with emotion, showing her a faded photograph of Sarah laughing in the garage, a smudge of grease on her cheek. She saw its potential, not just its rust. She saw the soul in the steel. Clara listened intently, a rare expression of empathy on her face, her eyes fixed on the image of the vibrant woman. "She sounds like she understood more than most," Clara murmured. A flicker of understanding passing between them. Liam felt a profound release, sharing his grief and his deep, emotional connection to the garage with someone who, for the first time, seemed to truly listen, to truly understand. Clara, in turn, felt a profound shift. She was beginning to see Thorne Auto not as mere real estate, but as a living repository of dreams, love, and loss. Her cold, corporate metrics were beginning to feel inadequate, missing a crucial human element she was only just beginning to grasp. That evening, the local community hall buzzed with defiant energy. Liam, nervous but resolute, stood at the podium, surrounded by a phalanx of loyal customers, small business owners, and concerned neighbors. He spoke passionately about Thorne Auto, its deep history, its irreplaceable role in the community, and the existential threat of Veridian Global's takeover. Maya sat in the front row, holding a hand-drawn sign that simply declared, "Save Thorne Auto." "This isn't just about a garage," Liam declared, his voice gaining strength, resonating with a newfound conviction. "It's about our identity, our soul. It's about letting a soulless corporation steamroll over everything that makes this neighborhood home." The crowd erupted in cheers, their collective voice a powerful wave of solidarity. Liam felt the invigorating power of community, a lifeline in his David and Goliath fight. He was terrified, yes, but fiercely determined. Maya, watching her father, felt a quiet pride in his bravery, her own small form of defiance in her sign. Unexpectedly, Clara Hayes entered the hall, drawing gasps and whispers from the crowd. Dressed more casually than usual, in dark jeans and a simple sweater, she tried to blend into the back. An unlikely observer, she avoided eye contact, but her gaze kept returning to Liam and Maya, noting the genuine connection and fierce loyalty he inspired. She saw the frustration, the fear, but also the fierce, almost tribal love the community has for Thorne Auto. Clara felt a growing discomfort, an internal conflict brewing, sharpening with every impassioned word spoken, every defiant cheer. She was witnessing firsthand the human cost of her corporate mandate. The cold numbers and projections in her head clashed violently with the raw, undeniable emotion filling the room. During the Q&A session, a local reporter, a cynical glint in her eye, asked Liam about the future, about how he, a simple mechanic, planned to compete with progress. Liam hesitated, searching for words that wouldn't sound naive or desperate. Just then, Maya, sensing her father's struggle, quietly approached the podium. She held up a new drawing in her notebook, a detailed, futuristic schematic for a self-repairing car, incorporating renewable energy systems, a design far beyond anything Liam had seen. "My dad can fix anything," Maya signed to Liam, then pointed to her drawing, her eyes shining with quiet conviction. "And he can build the future too." Liam, initially surprised, then awestruck, saw the genius in her drawing, the clear vision of a different kind of progress. "She's right," he said, a renewed spark in his eyes, his voice ringing with a fresh, powerful clarity. "We don't just fix the past, we build the future, one innovation at a time." Clara, watching from the back, was utterly captivated. She recognized true innovation, a different kind of progress than Veridian championed. A vision forged not in boardrooms, but in the quiet, grease-stained corners of a small, forgotten garage. And in that moment, she knew she couldn't be the one to destroy it. Clara's penthouse apartment, a monument to her relentless ambition, felt suffocating that night. The city lights, usually a comforting testament to her power, now seemed to mock her internal turmoil. She stood by the panoramic window, a glass of untouched wine in her hand, comparing Veridian's glossy development plans, sterile, impersonal, efficient, to Maya's vibrant, hand-drawn sketch from the meeting. The contrast was jarring, the soulless uniformity of Veridian's vision versus the organic, innovative brilliance of Thorne Auto's potential. She paced the polished floors, arguing with herself, weighing her ambition against her conscience. The cold logic of profit, the intoxicating allure of power, crashed against the unexpected warmth of human connection she'd found at Thorne Auto. She remembered Maya's innocent gesture, Liam's weary defiance, Sarah's laugh in the faded photograph. A profound conflict brewed within her. This was no longer just a business decision, it was a moral one, and the silence of her apartment amplified the choice. The next morning, the air in Veridian Global's boardroom was thick with an almost palpable tension. Daniel Albright, his face a mask of cold fury, confronted Clara before the final acquisition meeting. He'd seen the reports of community resistance, heard whispers of Clara's apparent softening. His voice, usually smooth, was now edged with steel. Your objective, Clara, is clear. Eliminate obstacles, close the deal, or find another company to waste your talent on. Clara stood her ground, her face unreadable, her mind made up. I understand, sir. The words were calm, but beneath them lay a quiet defiance. Internally, she felt a tightening knot of fear and anger. Albright embodied the ruthless corporate world she'd excelled in, but now it felt suffocating. A gilded cage. She realized she was at a precipice. Sacrifice her rediscovered values, or sacrifice her career. Meanwhile, back at Thorne Auto, Liam sat with his pro bono lawyer, the air heavy with unspoken defeat. The lawyer, a kind but weary man, explained they'd exhausted all options. The eviction notice was legal. The buyout offer, while exploitative in spirit, was generous by pure real estate metrics. The deadline loomed, a black cloud on the horizon. I'm sorry, Liam, the lawyer said, shaking his head. His voice tinged with regret. Without significant capital or a miracle, Thorne Auto is done. Liam clenched his jaw, fighting back the hot sting of tears, the bitter taste of failure. He felt utterly despairing. He was about to lose everything. The ghost of Sarah felt heavy in the garage, her absence a physical weight. Maya, watching from a corner, her eyes filled with a quiet, devastating understanding, reflected his pain. Just before the final, decisive acquisition meeting, Clara made a bold, unauthorized move. In her office, she furiously created an alternative presentation, fueled by a renewed sense of purpose. She incorporated Maya's innovative concepts, showcasing Thorne Auto's potential not as a building to be demolished, but as a heritage innovation hub, a unique, community-focused competitive advantage for Veridian's new smart city. She envisioned it as a vibrant nucleus for creative engineering, a living testament to respectful progress. She presented it as a strategic masterstroke, a PR coup that would appeal to a new, conscious demographic, boosting Veridian's image beyond mere profit. Albright, infuriated by her insubordination, tried to shut Clara down as soon as she began, but Clara, with a newfound conviction that startled even herself, directly appealed to Veridian's board members. Her voice was steady, powerful, as she outlined the long-term strategic value and PR benefits of her alternative plan. She projected Maya's schematic onto the main screen, the whimsical yet brilliant designs bringing a stark contrast to the sterile environment of the boardroom. This isn't about profit alone, gentlemen, Clara asserted, her gaze sweeping across the faces, seeking out the flicker of doubt, the spark of vision. It's about legacy, community, and the kind of future Veridian times should times be building. She showed them Liam's old photos of Thorne Auto, images of generations of proud mechanics, juxtaposed with Maya's futuristic designs, the self-repairing car, the renewable energy systems. Internally, Clara felt the surge of her conviction, drawing on her empathy for Liam and Maya. She was no longer just an executive. She was an advocate, fighting for something real. Albright seethed, his ambition threatened by Clara's radical shift, his face a mask of barely controlled rage. The board members, however, were visibly intrigued, recognizing the unexpected brilliance of the proposal, a different kind of progress than they were used to. The silence that followed Clara's presentation was deafening. Then, a senior board member, a man known for his cautious pragmatism, broke the quiet. "Miss Hayes," he said, a rare, thoughtful smile on his face. "You've shown us a different path. A better one." The decision was swift. The board, swayed by Clara's passionate and strategic presentation, voted to halt the demolition of Thorne Auto. They greenlit a partnership, funding the garage's modernization under Liam's leadership, with Veridian as an investor, and potentially a formal role for Maya in future innovation initiatives. Albright's face crumpled in defeat. "You've betrayed us," he hissed at Clara, his voice laced with venom. Clara met his gaze without flinching. "I've chosen progress, Daniel. The right kind." Clara felt an immense relief, a profound sense of having finally aligned her actions with her rediscovered values. She knew her career at Veridian was likely over, but it didn't matter. Liam and Maya's future was safe. Albright, however, felt a consuming fury. His meticulously laid plans thwarted. His trust in Clara shattered. Later that day, back in her sleek, now empty office at Veridian Global, Albright, true to his word, officially terminated Clara's employment. He offered a generous severance package, a cynical parting gesture that felt like an insult. Clara packed her personal items, a small box containing a few awards, and the hidden photos she'd always kept tucked away in a drawer. "You chose sentimentality over success, Clara." Albright sneered, leaning against the doorframe, his voice dripping with condescension. "A fatal flaw in this business." Clara looked him squarely in the eye, her own gaze unwavering. "No, Daniel. I chose integrity. A necessary virtue." She walked out, head held high, leaving behind the gilded cage of her former life. She felt a strange sense of liberation, a weight she hadn't realized she was carrying, finally lifted. The corporate world that once defined her now felt utterly insignificant. She felt a quiet pride in her choice, even as uncertainty about her immediate future loomed. The next morning, Liam received the news of the partnership deal. He was initially skeptical, fearing a corporate trick, a Trojan horse disguised as salvation. But the terms were genuinely favorable, surprisingly equitable. He saw Clara's name prominently attached to the proposal. Overwhelmed, he immediately called her. "Why? Why would you do this? You put your neck on the line for us." Clara, now packing the last of her belongings from her apartment, replied, her voice soft but resolute. "Because some things are worth fighting for, Liam. And because Maya showed me a different kind of genius." Liam was floored. A wave of profound gratitude washed over him, mixed with a deep, humbling respect for Clara. He felt a radical shift in his perception of her, recognizing her immense courage and integrity. Maya, sensing the good news, quietly smiled, her hands tracing imaginary circuits in the air. A few days later, Clara, now unemployed and between apartments, unexpectedly showed up at Thorne Auto. She was dressed casually, a stark contrast to her former executive attire, looking less like a corporate titan and more like a woman finding her footing. She didn't come with demands or proposals, but with a simple question. "Can I help with anything? Perhaps sort inventory or organize paperwork," she offered. Humble tasks far below her past station. "I don't expect anything," Clara said, her voice a little vulnerable, a hint of genuine uncertainty in her tone. "But I've realized I don't want to live in a world without places like this, without people like you and Maya." Liam, deeply touched by her sincerity, offered her a wrench. "You ever fix anything, Miss Hayes?" Clara smiled, a real, unforced smile. "Not yet, Mr. Thorne. But I'm a fast learner." Liam felt a burgeoning sense of trust and connection, an unexpected spark of attraction ignited by her honesty and her willingness to start over. Clara, in turn, felt a fragile hope, a sense of finally finding a place where she belonged, where her contributions are valued for more than just profit. Clara struggled with a simple task like organizing tools, her hands, accustomed to keyboards and touchscreens, clumsy with the wrenches and screwdrivers. Maya, ever observant, silently approached. Without a word, she gently took Clara's hand and, with slow, patient movements, showed her the most efficient way to sort the tools by type and size. a system she intuitively understood. Clara looked at Maya, a look of profound respect and genuine affection in her eyes. "Thank you, Maya. You're teaching me a lot." Maya, in return, gave a rare, small smile, a clear sign of her acceptance. Maya felt comfortable around Clara now, seeing her as a new, interesting puzzle to observe, a challenge she enjoyed. Clara felt a deep, unexpected connection to Maya, a sense of mentorship and shared learning that transcended their age and experience. Weeks later, Thorne Auto was alive with the hum of renovation, yet still fully functional. The old garage was undergoing a metamorphosis, retaining its classic charm while embracing the future. Clara, now a regular presence, seamlessly integrated herself into the project. She helped Liam manage the modernization, using her formidable organizational skills to streamline processes and budget, transforming chaos into efficient progress. She even learned basic mechanics from Liam, surprising herself with her aptitude for hands-on work. Maya, meanwhile, thrived in the new environment, openly sharing her insights and designs, her quiet world expanding into a vibrant hub of creativity. Liam and Clara developed an easy banter, their professional relationship subtly, inevitably evolving into something warmer. Who knew a corporate shark could learn to appreciate a well-greased wrench? Liam teased one afternoon, wiping a smudge from Clara's cheek. Clara grinned. Who knew a grease monkey could teach an old dog new tricks? Liam found himself increasingly drawn to Clara's sharp intelligence, her unexpected humor, and her genuine passion for their project. He felt hope blooming in his chest, a sense that he could move forward without forgetting Sarah, that life could hold new joys. Clara felt invigorated, finding a sense of purpose and fulfillment she never knew was missing in her high-powered career. The garage, once a symbol of decline, was becoming a beacon of innovation, a testament to their combined efforts. One late evening, after Maya was asleep in the apartment above, Liam and Clara sat on the small porch, looking out at the glittering tapestry of the city lights. Liam, his voice raw with emotion, shared more about Sarah, about his grief, about his lingering fears of loving again, of betraying the memory of his wife. Clara, in turn, opened up about her own emotionally distant childhood, her constant struggle for validation through work, the loneliness of her driven life. Sarah was the light in this place, Liam confessed, his voice thick with unshed tears. I thought when she left, the light went with her. Clara gently took his calloused hand, her touch warm and steady. The light didn't leave, Liam. It just needed someone to help you find the switch again. Liam felt a profound connection to Clara, recognizing a shared depth of understanding and vulnerability that transcended their disparate pasts. Clara felt a deep empathy for Liam's loss, and a growing, undeniable love for the man who saw past her corporate facade, who nurtured her newfound warmth. A busy afternoon at Thorne Auto, Maya was engrossed in sketching a new, more complex drone design. Her mind racing with possibilities, she looked up, observing Liam and Clara working closely, their easy smiles, their comfortable touches. She silently drew a picture in her notebook. 3 stick figures, Liam, Clara, and herself, holding hands with the garage and a bright, beaming sun in the background. She then showed the drawing to Liam, her eyes earnest. Clara makes you laugh, Dad, she signed simply. Mommy would like that. Liam's eyes filled with tears, a wave of acceptance washing over him, a profound release from his lingering guilt. Maya, for her part, felt a sense of completeness, a quiet joy in seeing her father happy again, and a new, loving presence in her life. Later that evening, under the vast, star-strewn sky on the newly cleaned and converted rooftop of Thorne Auto, now a small, makeshift garden and observatory where Maya often sketched, Liam and Clara stood together, looking out at the city lights. Liam gently took Clara's hand, his thumb tracing soft circles on her skin. You brought the light back, Clara, Liam whispered. his voice hoarse with emotion. For all of us. Clara looked up at him, her eyes reflecting the starlight, a beautiful, vulnerable depth in their blue. You reminded me what real light felt like, Liam. Not just the artificial glow of success. He leaned in, and under the watchful eyes of the ancient city and the silent, expansive sky, they shared a tender, hopeful kiss. A promise rather than a rush. A beginning rather than an end. Both felt a profound sense of connection, a promise of a future built on shared values and mutual respect. Liam felt love rekindling. A beautiful new chapter unfolding. Clara felt truly seen, truly valued. Finally, home. 2 years flew by, a blur of blueprints, grease, and laughter. Thorne Auto had been fully modernized, gleaming with new technology, yet retaining its beloved classic charm. It was now a vibrant Thorne innovation hub. Still a working garage, but also a bustling community workshop for aspiring engineers, with a prominent section dedicated to Maya's burgeoning tech designs. Liam, looking 10 years younger, his eyes brighter, moved through the space with an air of confident joy, supervising a team of young, eager apprentices. Clara, now a respected consultant for community-led sustainable development, was on a video call in a newly designated office space overlooking the thriving workshop, her face alight with purpose. Liam glanced at her, then around the humming workshop. "Grandpa would be proud, Clara," he murmured, a deep satisfaction in his voice. Clara smiled, her gaze sweeping over the vibrant activity below. "He'd be thrilled. This is more than just a garage. It's a legacy." Liam felt immense satisfaction and a profound peace. He'd honored his family's past while embracing the future. Clara, too, felt professionally fulfilled. Her work now directly aligned with her values, building communities, not just demolishing them. In the Innovation Hub, Maya, now 10, radiated confidence. She guided a group of younger children through her Junior Innovators Workshop, patiently demonstrating how to build simple robots from recycled car parts. Her designs were becoming increasingly sophisticated, already drawing interest from local universities and tech programs. Maya, articulate and poised, answered questions with ease, her passion for engineering radiating from her. "You see, a machine isn't just parts," she explained, her small hands moving precisely, signing as she spoke. "It has a purpose, a story. Just like us." Maya felt a deep sense of belonging and empowerment. Her quiet nature was no longer a limitation. Her hidden talent was now her celebrated strength. Nurtured by her father and Clara, she had found her voice through her hands, her designs speaking volumes. Evenings in the living area above Thorne Auto, now a warm, beautifully renovated home, were filled with a comfortable intimacy. Liam and Clara sat together on the couch, laughing as Maya excitedly told them about her day, showing off a new invention, a tiny, solar-powered car that zipped across the coffee table. They shared a comfortable, loving silence, punctuated by Maya's animated descriptions and occasional giggles. Maya looked at them, her eyes shining with pure contentment. "This is the best home ever," she signed, then spoke, her voice clear and bright, "because we built it together." Liam and Clara exchanged a loving glance, their hands intertwining. "We did, sweetheart," Liam said, pulling her into a warm hug. He and Clara felt the profound joy of a family built not on blood, but on choice, sacrifice, and the courage to open their hearts. Their love story, forged in the fires of loss and the promise of a brighter future, now hums with the steady, joyful rhythm of a well-oiled machine. The ripple effect of Clara's choice extended far beyond Thorne Auto. An older woman, a former Veridian employee inspired by Clara's story, brought her shy, imaginative son to Maya's workshop, hoping he could learn from her. Clara, now a mentor herself, offered advice on transitioning from corporate life to community-focused work. "Thank you, Clara," the woman said, her voice full of gratitude. "You showed me that sometimes sacrificing what you thought you wanted leads to what you truly needed." Clara smiled, looking at Liam, then at Maya, engrossed in a new project, her small hands already shaping the future. "It certainly does." Clara saw the tangible results of her choices, understanding the true power of kindness and integrity, a force far more potent than any corporate strategy. Liam looked on, a quiet observer of the beautiful family and thriving legacy they've built together, a testament to the gears of the heart.